Hi everybody, Brian from Bearable Traders here. It is the weekend, August 23rd, and this of course is the weekend video. We'll take a look at what happened last week in the markets, and it was quite a week with a sort of slow grind lower all week, and then the Fed Powell shot in the arm on Friday. And then we'll take a look ahead and see what we got coming up. I do remain a little bit cautious on where we're going here. I kind of see a few cracks forming in the market, so we'll talk about that as well as some other things, potentials for setups for next week trading. So let's get down to it. Starting out with a quick recap, as we always do. Last week, Fed Chair Powell, certainly the star of the week for the bulls. Mere mention of the possibility of a rate cut in September, he really caused the markets to rip higher on Friday. Cautionary note, there were a lot of Fed members that still remain cautious about lowering rates. And we still have a lot of data to get through before we get to that September meeting. We've got PCE this week. We've got PPI and CPI data again, labor data, all to look at before this next meeting. So you can see how we finished the week on the Dow, the Q. You can see the Qs there could not finish positive on the week. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. SPY just eked out a bit of a gain, but your big gainer there, IWM small caps. Of course, they're the big beneficiary of lower rates. And speaking of beneficiaries of lower rates, energy certainly tied to the economy. So if the economy picks up, more energy prices go up. Generally speaking, real estate, of course, another interest rate dependent sector. And you can see that technology communication sectors ended up losing ground this week. So 2-year and 10-year treasuries down slightly, not a huge move. They did fluctuate around during the week. The dollar finished pretty much flat, didn't go anywhere. And Bitcoin down a little bit this week, or at least as far as I know, is looking at it in the last little while, trading around just above 115 from 118 previous week. So that was your week in review. And we'll take a bit of a break here just to mention my books that are available on Amazon, all different formats, whether you like e-reader, audio, or the hard copy. They're available there. How to swing trade, profiting as an active trader, a little bit more in-depth about swing trading and position trading. And of course, my latest book, How to Trade Options, which is sort of A to Z on options, including some strategies that I currently use, both day trading and swing trading. So links are in the description below. You can check them out. And yeah, let's move on and look at some indexes. Treasuries, you can see here the 2-year is continuing to head lower in anticipation of a rate cut by the Fed. Certainly the trend is definitely downward back to an area of support here. And again, we'll see if that does come to pass. 10-year, the Fed does have a little less influence on the longer term rates. So you can see here it's just sort of churning in a range there. Nothing to see. The Dow, you can see here we broke out all-time high by the looks of it on the Dow. Let's take a look at the weekly. Yep, all-time high, getting very close to that 46,000 level. And all the indexes, or at least all the indicators, looking like it may continue to move higher there. The Qs were quite interesting, and this is where I mentioned last week I thought technology was looking a little bit toppy, a little bit weak. You can see here we sold off Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then when we tried to rally back on this big sort of announcement, rate cut announcement, it really couldn't even get back up to the start of the week. And of course, we ended up down on the week on the Qs, which I find quite interesting as the Qs continue to struggle to move higher here. And the Qs are fairly influential when you get to the SPY, which is next year. SPY is about a third made up of technology sector. So if the technology sector continues to underperform or sell off, I think the SPY is going to struggle to move higher here as well. But you can see the SPY performed a lot better than the Qs. It did end up finishing higher on the week, and whereas the technology sector did not. We'll take a closer look at that in a second. IWM, big beneficiary, obviously, of the lower rates, and it, of course, is breaking out there, which is one of the reasons I am trading TNA, which is an ETF. We'll take a look at that in a minute, and you can see here it's breaking out. Looks like we're going to get back up to this pretty close to this 240 level as probably next week. And you see the VIX here really selling off on Friday. No fear in the market. And of course the US dollar sold off quite a bit on Friday with the lower interest rate potential. And dollar still sort of hanging in that range there for the weekly, and Bitcoin trading around 115, 100. So again, it kind of tried to break out here a week or so ago, last week, and just couldn't do it. The same back here. Again, this high, what is it? This sort of 120 area. Every people seem to front run that level. So that's your indexes in review. So I don't usually put this chart up, but I thought it would be kind of interesting to take a look at it today. This is all the sectors of that make up the SPY primarily, and I just wanted to point something out. And it's kind of where I'm seeing some cracks starting to form here, and I'm getting a little bit more cautious about this market. You can see here, as I mentioned already, you can see here how the SPY sold off during the week, and then on Friday with that announcement by the Fed, you can see here the SPY basically just rallied back, took out all these down candles from Monday through Thursday, and really got back up to the high. Now compare that to the tech sector. You can see here there's Monday and there's Tuesday, big sell-off Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. We didn't really even get back and recapture this high, let alone get close to an all-time high. So I'm starting to see some real weakness in the technology sector, and of course the SPY is about a third made up of the technology sector. So we had some strong performance in some of the other sectors in the SPY this week, but I'm just thinking that if technology really struggles, and I think a lot of it's going to hinge on this NVIDIA number that comes out, and what they have to say about sort of guidance. It could push the technology sector. I'd be watching this level here for a continued breakdown, which would makes the SPY a little bit under pressure, possibly as well. You can see the discretionary really broke out here, not to an all-time high, but certainly broke through a short-term high. And again, I'm cautious on this one as well, because if the consumers start seeing higher prices, are they really going to go out and continue to spend, especially if they're seeing higher prices with food? And so I'm cautious on this one as well. Energy, a big mover this week on potential for good economic stuff moving forward, but again, I'd be a little bit cautious on this one as well. So again, just some comments on the various sectors and some of the rotation that we have been seeing in the market. Financials, final comment on this one. Again, you can see here financials did fairly well on Friday as well, breaking a near-term high here. So just something to keep in mind. Again, a little bit of a cautious note here, and special mention on XLQ watch, or XLK watch, that technology sector and what it does. A few pennies lately, penny stocks, and this is another one from the Venture Exchange in Toronto. And you can see here, Reezy had a nice run up. I've taken a fair amount off of it just because I was pretty heavily invested, down around 15 cents here. And yeah, we had a nice run up, got a double on this. So I'm really lightened up on this stock here. Not sure if I'm kind of watching this 25-cent area. I think if we start to break down below that, I might just exit the rest of the position. But you can see volume really dropping off here on this graphite stock. And I'm liking the graphite stocks right now. GDX, I'm still long some gold miners. Not necessarily the GDX, but you can trade the GDX if you want to be long gold miners. It's a good ETF, and gold seems to be heading higher. This is my other penny stock that I got back into around 150. I had sold most of it. I held on to a little bit because my entry was down here around 15 cents, and so sold a lot of it up as it just kept going up. I sold a lot of it, and just almost emptied my inventory out, but then I've gotten back in around 150, and I guess and I've sold a little bit as it got back up here around $2. But I think it's going to be a good long-term hold. They are going to uplist. You can see it's on a Canadian exchange. They are going to uplist in NASDAQ apparently. CEO was on a webinar, and so I am, they're going to uplist in the new year, first quarter probably. And I think that will make it good for a run. It is a U.S. company, by the way. It's not a Canadian company, even though it's listed on a Canadian exchange. LABU, still long some of that. Got a nice move up. I did sell some on Friday on that move. I've been watching the healthcare sector, and I decided to trade LABU instead of the healthcare sector, although it did pretty well too. NVIDIA, I took some off. I took the rest of my position off on NVIDIA. I'm not going to hold it through earnings. I think there's a potential for it to drop, so I'm not going to hold it through earnings. So I'm out of that position for now. And you can see here silver. I'm still long some silver stocks as well, and I'm long some TNA on this move up here. So that was a nice little move on small cap IWM. UNH, like the way it was holding this 300 level, so I've been scouting that for quite a while. Finally did sell some 300 puts and collected the premium on that on Friday. So that was my active trades for the week. So some potentials for next week. As I said, the tech sector seems to be a little bit weak. You can see CoreWeave. I was looking at this one last week. I was looking at this 100 level. It did really break down through there. I didn't get a chance to take an opportunity to short it. It is a little bit of a scary short because the meme traders are liking all these types of stocks, but I think it has some more potential to go down. I wouldn't take a position on it. 90 does look like support, but if NVIDIA really comes up with a bit of lackluster or underwhelming report on Wednesday after the close, this is one that could really drop as well. So something to keep an eye on, maybe on Thursday or Wednesday after NVIDIA reports. Again, tech sector looking a little bit toppy here. This NVIDIA sort of a example of that. You can see here we never really recaptured where we started in the week. We're down at some moving averages here, and I think there's an opportunity if you wanted to do something like sell some upside calls, 775s, but it definitely tech sector is looking a little weak here. Reddit is another one. It really topped out around 250. And it's been pulling back another sector another stock that's really overbought, I think. And Tesla's kind of interesting. We did break out from this trend line, and this is quite typical. You break out, you pull back, you retest the trend line now from the upside, and then you get a nice bounce. 350 again looks like pretty serious resistance up here. And we might move to that number next week, so something to keep an eye on, even though I really don't understand the fundamentals of why people are continue to bid this up. Again, just meme stock status and Elon Musk fans. And UNH, again, an opportunity maybe next week to sell some more 300 calls. XLV, you can see here, this is why I was watching the healthcare sector. Again, really off this bottom here. Nice move up. I think it continues. It's at the 200-day moving average right now, so watch for a bit of a pullback here. But if you're in long, I would stay long because I think we've got more upside to maybe 140 on that one. So that's pretty much what I'm watching for next week. Okay, so let's wrap things up for the week of August 25th. You can see here levels for your Dow, Q, SPY, and IWM, support and resistance levels. Economic events. We do have some home stuff coming up here, and jobless claims obviously Thursday. People are watching, but the big number that people will be watching will be this PCE data that'll come out on Friday morning, indication of how inflation is going, and that's the Fed's favored tool for watching that. And you can see here, as far as earnings goes, this is going to be the big one Wednesday after the close. NVIDIA, CrowdStrike, Snow, but NVIDIA obviously the AI darling, and that's what people will be certainly watching for on Wednesday to see what they have to say about the market. And as far as my high-level assessment, markets are still near or at all-time highs. Technology, as I mentioned last week in my video, is struggling to move higher, while the financial and discretionary sectors broke out. Dip buyers still in there supporting the market a little bit. I wouldn't say so much for the tech anymore. Headline risk is still present, which is what we saw on Friday. I remain a little bit cautious about a potential rate cut. We have a lot of economic data to get through before the September meeting, and we've got several Fed members that are pretty hawkish on any kind of a rate cut until inflation is more tamed, as they say. But I think higher prices are coming to a retailer near you. Home Depot, Walmart, Target all told you basically that on their earnings calls on Friday. So I don't see inflation coming down anytime soon. So we'll see what the Fed puts their priority on, whether it's the labor market, which is also showing some signs of weakness, or whether they really still want to try to make sure inflation doesn't get out of control here. So that's it, and hopefully we'll see you in the room 8:30 or Monday morning, or 8 o'clock when our pre-market starts with Jared engineering the markets, and then of course 8:30 running you through the pre-market action as it unfolds. So hopefully we will see you there. Have a great rest of your weekend, everyone.